All right, welcome back to another video with SirLucien on the SirLucien Gaming channel. I just wanted to do a quick overview of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So I got my book today at my local game store. I went ahead and kind of read through portions of it to see, what I liked and what I thought of the book. And I thought I would just come on here real quick and give you a little update or give you a little overview. And I'm not going to try to spoil anything. I hope I don't. But I hope I can help inform some people in if this is a book they want to go ahead and get, or if this is one that they will let their GM get or their DM get, or is this something that they might pass on? This could be that type of book. So one of the things that I've noticed going through it is, number one, I really do like the art style they went with in this book. There's a lot of really cool pieces. There's a lot of really cool maps, and there's a lot of really cool inspiration for different styles and characters and the actual town of Waterdeep itself. Going through from the beginning, there's a very typical foreword, credits page, a little funny blurb for on the cover, and right below that is a disclaimer. They usually do this at the front of the books, which is pretty funny. I'll let you go ahead and read those from your book that you get. And then it kind of jumps into something that I thought was very interesting, was a pronunciation guide right on page 4 of the actual book. So this was kind of nice to be able to see names and places and things that you might come across while reading through the book and might not know how to pronounce that. Well, they give you a nice little handy guide to help you out. I think this is really nice because it'll help if using this guide will probably also help you if you were looking through one of the other adventures. You kind of see how they pronounce things. You can have a better guess on other stuff that you've read from Wizards of the Coast. It starts out with an introduction to what this book is for, and obviously Waterdeep Dragon Heist is an adventure book. So they talk about that it's an adventure book that typically can span from 1 to 5. So this is a beginning adventurer's book. This is an adventure that's going to take place in Waterdeep. That's probably not a big spoiler if you buy the book or if anybody's been hearing about it. And it's going to be basically city adventures of some sort. And I don't really want to get too much into those, but I did want to kind of cover the idea that there are a couple of other adventures out there that are built for the low level. So thinking about when I look through the Mines of Phandelver and comparing it to this book, you might think, well, if I'm new to this and I'm going to go ahead and bring a brand new party, or I'm going to form a brand new group, or I'm going to use brand new players and I'm going to introduce them to, Dungeons and Dragons, which adventure should I get? From what I can tell, it seems like the Mines of Phandelver are a little bit more concise of a adventure meant for beginning players or new players or new GMs or DMs who have never actually ran a game before. And it feels like that one is really set out to help that style or that person get through maybe their first adventure and their first experience in Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like Waterdeep Dragon Heist is a good low-level adventure, but it may not necessarily be the best first adventure you run if you've never ran a game before, as it does have some intricacies to it where you're going to really have to read the whole thing, and you have to make quite a few decisions, and there are lots of spots for you to fill in. And if you're brand new to being a DM, you might find that a little daunting, or you might find that a little hard to accomplish when you don't really know what to do. You're just starting out, you're learning the rules, you're learning how to gather your players and teach them the game, and it could be a little too much with this. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't, but I feel like by looking at both of them, Mines of Phandelver feels more like a beginner level, even though it is a low-level adventure. Waterdeep Dragon Heist is a low-level adventure, but I would maybe say it's maybe like a medium-level game to run. So your characters can start up, but it does do a good job of assuming if you're going to be starting your players from level 1, or even they're going to create characters and then start playing in this. They don't even have characters yet. It does have a nice bit of information under the introduction area where it talks about character creation, character advancements, factions in Waterdeep, and the Yawning Portal itself, kind of where the adventure takes place, or at least starts. From there, it goes into kind of what's happening with this adventure, and there's a few events and a few things that the players can get themselves embroiled in, and then eventually you get to a portion where it kind of splits off into kind of one of 4 ways that it could possibly go. And there could be many ways that it goes, but it gives you at least 4 that are common or ones that you can kind of tailor to the way or the type of game that you want to play. These are broken up into what I thought was a very interesting way to do this was different seasons. You're making a decision about this adventure early on, and when you make that choice, normally you're going one of the 4 choices, you're going to run one of those choices during either a summer, a spring, a winter, or a fall, which I thought was a kind of a cool way to separate these different possibilities. I'm being a little vague because I don't really want to give it away too much in case anybody watches this video. They don't feel like they can't go play the game because all of a sudden they heard everything and know all about it. So is this a book for dungeon masters? Absolutely. This definitely feels like if you're a dungeon master, 5th edition, you're getting into 5th edition, you've been playing 5th edition, this is a book that's written for you. It has plenty of urban style information that you're going to use to run a big city type adventure. You could run it as it is in the Forgotten Realms of Waterdeep. I feel like you could take a lot of this and fine-tune it or tailor it if you have some other big city that you want to run it in. I don't feel like you have to run it in Forgotten Realms, but it would take some conversion work or quite a bit of work on your side if you were going to say use Tolis, or you're going to use maybe one that you've created, maybe one that was randomly generated big city, or using something from maybe if you're going to like a Pathfinder or any of the other fantasy roleplay games and you want to use this, there would be quite a bit of conversion to do. But the principles in here and the storylines and what it's trying to do and accomplish for this 1 through 5 adventure could really be anywhere and fine-tuned to be played in any real system. So looking through here, what are things that are going to be useful for the Dungeon Master? So obviously running the adventure itself as is, all the information that you need in here. It has plenty of maps for you to use, whether you're going to copy them or trace them out, or you're going to put them on a virtual tabletop. They're easy to reproduce. There's plenty of information for NPCs. There's plenty of information for villain motivations. There's plenty of information for running different styles of encounters, whether it's pitched battles, whether it's mystery, whether it's chases, whether it's dealing with the law, whether it's dealing with the guilds, those kinds of things. You get a lot of that in this book. So if you've been looking to try to run adventures that aren't necessarily out in the forests or climbing mountains or diving down in volcanoes or going to the Underdeep or the Underdark, then this might be a really good book for you. If you're brand new Dungeon Master, I really am going to recommend that you go ahead and read it cover to cover at least once, and then go back and really pick out the pieces that are going to be relevant to the adventure the way you're going to run it. It is going to behoove you on this one to have a really good familiarity with all the different moving parts and all the different things that can happen. If you're a long-time Dungeon Master, there's quite a few things in here that I like. Even the adventure, even if you've been running adventures for the last 5, 6, 10 years or longer, 20, 30 years of Dungeons & Dragons, this is a very good, concise adventure to run, something that you will be able to pick up easily and put into your game, and you'll have the experience to be able to boost this level up if you needed to, if you wanted to allow a higher level group to go through and do it, or you'll be able to also handle a low level group through this. One of the other things that is handy for you, the pronunciation guide is good for the Dungeon Master, but also there's an appendix in here for magic items, some new magic items to give you some more ideas. There's some things that you haven't used before, and there's definitely some monsters and NPCs in here, though this is not really a creature book, but it is a very good NPC town kind of adversaries. So towns guards, different guild members, different gangs and thugs and those kinds of things. There's a lot of those style stats for the humanoids that are lurking within the town and might, try to prey upon the innocent or prey upon the heroes when they're at their worst, or or when they're hurt or they're down or something like that. There's also a really good map in the back of this that you can actually pull out and have for the Waterdeep map. So this is great for those of you who like to place your adventures out in Waterdeep or out in that part of the Sword Coast. You have a really good map to use for your campaigns. This would be a really good map if you're running Storm King's Thunder. And I really thought this would be a good adventure to get your group from 1 to 5 in Storm King's Thunder. Whereas Storm King's Thunder, it says you can go start at 1 and go all the way up to somewhere around 10, 11, or 12. Really, it kind of quickly moves you through the 1 through 5 experience to get you to the whole storyline of the giants. And I feel like this could slot into that 1 to 5 area really well. So you could put this in there and then jump into that. Timeline-wise, typically the books are released in the timeline as far as they are. They haven't been releasing books that happen 50 years before another book did. But it doesn't mean as a dungeon master you can't mix them around and you can't play around with the timeline a little bit to make these fit in your Forgotten Realms. So I think those are the things that are really handy for the dungeon master. If you're a player, do you want to buy this book? Well, there's not going to be a lot in this book for you as a player. There is one section that I thought could be useful. Chapter 9 talks about Volo's Waterdeep, and there's a word here I hadn't really seen before. It's called Enchiridion. 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 I don't know how to pronounce it. I probably should have looked it up before I did the video. But what it is it feels like a Volo's version of a travel guide of the different areas, overview of the areas of Waterdeep. And I feel like if you read Chapter 9 as a player, you're not spoiling too much of anything as a character. So if you're a character that's from Waterdeep, that felt like a lot of the information that you might already know. And I feel like if you read that, it probably would be okay. The rest of it is definitely going to be spoiler ridden if you're a player and you try to go through chapters 1 through definitely 8. And there's really not going to be too much for you in the appendixes as a player. So to me, it's a book that it spans about 224-ish pages, has pretty good artwork, definitely geared towards a dungeon master more than a player. I think if I was a player, I might pass on this and maybe just read that one chapter if my dungeon master would let me look at the book, or maybe find it in some other way, maybe get it in a PDF eventually when it gets released as a PDF, say on like Drive-Thru-RPG or something like that. And maybe not necessarily a book that you would need from a player perspective. There's not any new classes that I saw. There's not any new races that I saw that you could play. There's no new spells you're going to be using. There's no new subclasses. So none of that stuff is really in this book. And I think it's one of the reasons why they were willing to release Waterdeep Dragon Heist here on September 7th. And then in November, they're going to go ahead and release a couple more books, which is another adventure that goes from 6 to 20, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and they're also going to be doing the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, because these I feel like are Dungeon Master's books, and they might not sell as many as they would have like a Volo's Guide or any of the ones that have some additional players options, because you're going to have a much bigger player base buying that book. I feel like the numbers on these will be a little lower because they don't have enough stuff in here for a player to really warrant buying the book. So hopefully I'll probably keep this super short and super concise. To me, just as a recap, if you're a brand new dungeon master, this is a very viable book for you to use. Just be ready to put a little work into it. If you're a dungeon master who's been running games for a long time, this is a great kind of 1 to 5 adventure that you can place anywhere in your campaign for if they're near Waterdeep, or you could even kind of retool it if you need to use it in another big city. There's lots of mechanics in here that you might like and use in pieces and parts of it in a whole nother adventure if you wanted to. There's definitely some good NPCs and monsters and stuff to use in here, more like the humanoid types. There's some new magic items, the pronunciation guide, and the maps are really good. If you're a player, maybe, I don't know, I'm thinking I'm recommending pass on this one because I didn't see a lot that a player would want to have. If you're a collector, then by all means, you're probably going to want it. There is, from what I can tell, no variant cover for this one. So this one's going to be the regular style and will sit on the shelf of your other books that are the regular version, versus recently they've been doing a lot of these books that have a variant cover. And this one I do not believe will have one. So hopefully that helps you kind of make your decision if this is a book for you or not. If you have any questions about it, you can go ahead and put them down in the comments and I'll try to get to them and answer. I hope you enjoyed this short, quick little video that I'm doing really quickly here tonight as it had come out and as I just got done reading through it. And we'll see how if it's going to fit in my campaign somewhere, or if I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it and maybe use it down the line. So hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully you had a good time sitting here with me, SirLucien, on the SirLucien Gaming channel, and I hope you check out the rest of the content here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit that like button. And hey, talk to me down in those comments because I do like to answer your questions. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.